Good afternoon. Today we are going to be solving equations in section 1.5. Whenever we are solving equations, we are first looking to get our variable alone by doing opposite operations. For example, if you look at my first example, number 1, we have 1/4 times x. In order to get rid of the 1/4 times x, we need to do the opposite operation and divide by 1/4. When we divide by a fraction, we are actually multiplying by the reciprocal. So over here, these 4's and 1's will cancel, leaving me with x. And over here, I have 32 times 4, which is 128. A simple one-step equation. Now, over here, I have a fraction in the denominator. So to get rid of it, the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. Over here, these 5's will cancel, leaving me with 3n minus 4 equals 56 times 5 would be 280. Now to solve for n, I need to get it alone. So first I need to use this minus 4. So I'm going to do the opposite and add 4. Now I have 3n equals 284. By dividing both sides by 3, the opposite operation of multiplication, I will get 3 will go into 28. How many times? 9 times, which is 27. With 1 left over, which would give us 14, and 3 will go into 14 4 times with 2 left over. All right, let's look at something like this. When I actually have my variable in the denominator, as opposed to just a number in the denominator, I'm going to stick this first value over 1. 20 is equal to 20 over 1. Now I have them both in fraction form, so I can cross multiply in order to solve. So I multiply this first direction, and 20 times 10c is 200c. And I multiply this direction, and 1 times 5 is 5. Now I'd like to make note that this only works when you have two fractions set up equal to each other. Now in order to solve, we'll divide by 200, which is the opposite operation of multiplying by 200. And when I reduce, I should get 1 over 40. Now let's talk about some distribution. If this is my equation, in order to simplify, I need to use order of operations. In order to get rid of these parentheses, I must distribute that negative value through. And that negative is essentially a negative 1. So when I distribute it through, 4n stays the same. Negative 1 times n is a negative n. And a negative 1 times a negative 1 is a positive 1. And now over here, my variables are in two different places, so I need to combine them. 4n minus n is 3n. And now you can see I have one variable piece. In order to get it alone, I need to move the plus 1. The opposite operation is subtracting 1. And last but not least, in order to get the n alone, I need to do the opposite of multiplying by 3, which is dividing by 3. And I end up with n equals 2. All right? What if I have fractions in the denominator? First of all, I need to clear these fractions. And in order to do that, I find the least common multiple of my denominators. The smallest number that both 4 and 6 will divide into is 12. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 12. If I do the same thing to both sides, it balances and doesn't change my equation, just rewrites it. So when I distribute here, 4 goes into 12 3 times. So I'm left with 3d. Distribute here, and 6 goes into 12 2 times. So I'm left with 2d. Over here, nothing cancels, and 5 times 12 is 60. Now I have two variable pieces, so I combine them. And now to get D alone, I do the opposite of multiplication, which is division, and I end up with D equals 12. All right, here, what if my variable is in two different pieces? Or, sorry, in two different places, one on one side of the equation, one on the other. First of all, I need to combine them across the equation line. So I'm going to do the opposite operation, and I'll get 2y plus 42 equals 60. Now to solve for y, I need to get it alone. I subtract 42 on both sides, and I get 2y equals 18. Divide both sides by 2, and y equals 9. All right, last example. Here I have a fraction that's in my way, so I'm going to utilize the same technique. Since my denominator is 6, the smallest value that it will divide into is 6, so I will multiply both sides of my equation by 6. Here it cancels, leaving me with the 60x plus 24. I maybe should make note that this is being multiplied by 1, but since 1 times 60x plus 24 is going to be 60x plus 24, it really isn't there. These 6's cancel, and 1 times anything is just itself. Multiply over here, and I get negative 6x. Now I need to combine my variable pieces, so I will subtract 60x on both sides. Now my variables are together, which is a negative 66x. Finally, to solve for x, I'll need to divide both sides by negative 66 and reduce. And I get a negative, I should mention 6 goes into both 24 and 66, and I get a negative 4/11. All right, for tomorrow, I would like a sheet of paper where you have attempted to solve for number 1, 2, and 3, and I'll see you tomorrow.